Hey, what's up, y'all? Welcome back to another Alternative Factuals video. I told you I'll come back with another one. I'm just going to do this sporadically. I feel like I have to jump in on certain topics because, I think they're interesting and I think they're conversations that need to be had, but also I don't get the commitment. I still get to date around. Okay, so I think I want to talk about this whole Green Lantern fiasco that's going on online. So just so everyone is aware, I'm going to do like a quick run around of the new Green Lantern, cast, and well, not cast per se, but the new series. And it's going to be the same guy who was from Rebel Ridge. I forget his name. Once again, memory escapes me. The TV series is going to be with Aaron Pierre. There we go. That's the name. Aaron Pierre. Now, for those of you who don't know the controversy, people feel like, okay, he's a light-skinned dude. He's a light-skinned black guy. He's mixed, essentially. He has blue eyes and he's not as dark-skinned as John Stewart was. And, some people are occupying two schools of thought when it comes to this character specifically. One is saying, oh, it's not that deep. He's an actor. He's playing a character that basically is fictional. It's not that deep. It's not that deep, right? Then you got the other side of the spectrum where people believe that this is kind of their Hollywood's version of kind of finding the more acceptable black person. Instead of going full black, well, we can get someone in the middle. And they feel like him being black is important because it's a part of his character. And I know off the rip, y'all are going to ask, well, what do I sit on the spectrum of things? Truthfully, I think I'm leaning more towards he should be darker, but I'm not as, upset about it. I am a little disappointed because my personal fan cast for Green Lantern would have been Aldous Hodge, who, as we know in the animated series, he was the Green Lantern for the animated series. So not the animated series, but the animated movie where Hal Jordan, basically they did the whole parallax situation with the new Tomorrowverse, something like that. That's what they called it. But he was the voice of that Green Lantern, and Aldous Hodge has the physicality to be, John Stewart. Aldous Hodge is in shape. He's a good. He's actually, I think he's like 6 feet tall or 6'2", something like that. I've been following him since he was in the TV show Leverage. So yeah, he's, in terms of fan casting, I think he was a guy for me, and he proved it with the voice acting. So I think just him being the physical representation is perfect. But let's get on the Aaron Pierre subject. Now, we already know this whole concept is based off of, representation in Hollywood. And when John Stewart was first introduced as Green Lantern in the Green Lantern number 87 in 1971, right? It was created by the writer Denny O'Neil, and it was drew by the artist Neil Adams. And he was one of the first, heroes, to be introduced who was black, in mainstream comics. And that was basically why it was so important that he exists, because at that time we didn't have much representation in comic books. And ever since, he's been one of the most, important characters in DC when it comes to the Green Lantern Corps. He's an architect. He was in the Marines, and he has some of the most powerful, strongest willpower in the Corps, which is why, people love him so much now. And especially if you were, I'm 30, but, back when I was a kid, John Stewart in Justice League and Justice League Unlimited was like top tier. He didn't play no games, and he was someone who I could relate to. I literally saw myself in him. I still have an action figure, not an action figure, but one of those like little, not figurines per se, but I have one of the toys that my father bought me for Christmas. It was like 2005, 2006 or something like that. I still have it in my closet. It still, is able to stand up by itself. It was something, because I saw myself in that character. And what's the point of all this, basically? Now, my point is, do I think it's as deep as some people are making it out to be? Not necessarily, but also I can't really fault them for feeling the way that they feel, because despite how much time has passed since his, introduction in 1971, he was someone who represented someone who looked like me. And we see in films, even though we're getting more representation, we're seeing more black people, we're seeing more of anyone who's of Latin descent, and we're seeing more of just multiple cultures, it still isn't enough representation. So we're trying to get as much representation as possible. And then when you introduce a black, someone who's mixed, and like I said, it has nothing to do with his acting, and I don't want to subtract from, his experience as a person of color, but, on paper, like visually, aesthetically, this comes off as they didn't want to get someone who was as dark as he's supposed to be, so they found somewhere in the middle where it's not a white character. They can't complain that it's a white character, but also it's not a full African American black character. So it just comes off that way. Even whether that was an intention or not, if they're going strictly by the acting, I can understand. So I sit somewhere in the middle. Like I said, I lean slightly towards the I wish it was darker, and that's mostly because my fan casting is Aldis Hodge. He's the person who I see as the optimal John Stewart, and he's my John Stewart. I'll say it like that. But I can definitely understand. I can get why fans, and particularly black audiences, is upset. Because, to finally get a black character, the few black characters that we have in comics, who's intelligent, who's strong, he represents what it is to be a black man, someone who, commands the screen, someone who, exudes such greatness. And then to have someone who isn't, like I said, this is based on aesthetics, so to have someone who doesn't fully look like me kind of be that, it comes off as, like I said, you're not trying to whitewash the character, but you also don't want to give credit to the fact that he is black. So, and Hollywood has been notorious for doing that to black people, but not just black people, but also just, there were a lot of movies where white people were playing people who are Hispanic, who are Latin. How many times have we seen that throughout Hollywood, where they're playing different ethnic cultures? And and I'm not even talking about satire, situations. I'm talking about like legitimately they're trying to pass white people off as something else, as Native Americans, as Egyptians, as in some cases black people in the really old days. So I can understand the controversy, and I can't blame people for feeling that way, because representation does matter. It alters the way people perceive us because of movies and representation, because like the movies like Avengers and because of the popular movies that did involve black people that showed us in a positive light, people are starting to change their opinion about us across the world, because they don't only see us as thugs anymore or just as people who are dangerous. It's a reflection of, it's a reflection of us, the fact that, we can do these roles and we are not just one set of things. And now it's starting to look, like people are starting to see us as just people, and we still have a long way to go. But either way, I don't want to drag on the video any longer than it has to be. Once again, to wrap up my conclusion, I sit somewhere in the middle in this situation, but like I said, I slightly lean towards I wish he was darker, just slightly. I'm not like angry about it. Am I still gonna watch the show? Absolutely. Should I cover the show? Probably. I'll probably drop a couple episodes throughout this season, just so we can, kind of catch up and talk about it. And let me know what you guys think in the comments, and let me know how you feel about the situation. And I hope y'all have a good one. Peace out.